And then lastly, I'm going to talk about the gun debate, and then we'll go to questions. So I, along with Senator McKinney, represented Newtown. We both still do, but I represented Newtown as a member of Congress. We were both there that day. We were there within hours of the shooting, and there are a lot of moments when I want to take back the things that I saw and heard that afternoon. But it has committed me, in a very personal way, to taking steps at the federal level to make sure that we're doing everything possible such that no other community has to go through what Newtown does. It's also opened this country's eyes to the fact that, while the mass shootings get all of the attention, there has been, for decades, routine gun violence happening on the streets of cities here in this state and across the country, which, since Newtown, has taken thousands of lives. They're very different kinds of violence. One has historically and typically involved these military-style assault weapons with large capacity magazines, but the urban violence is done with handguns, largely that are illegal, that the perpetrator shouldn't have in the first place. And so it means that on the issue of gun violence, our response federally has to be comprehensive and as well. That means we've got to close these loopholes in the background check system so that we know that everybody that buys a gun in this country has to prove that they are not a criminal or prove that they have not been deemed mentally incompetent. We have to get rid of gun trafficking. Right now, gun trafficking isn't a federal crime. If you go buy a whole mess load of guns from a gun store and then you go out into the street and sell them to people that shouldn't have them, that is not a crime at the federal level. It should be. Third, I think that we should take these dangerous, high-powered, military-style weapons off the streets. I know it's not easy to define exactly what those weapons are, but I think that weapons that were historically designed for the military should stay in the military's hands. And I really believe that these high-capacity magazines that are holding 30 bullets, or these drums that are holding 100 bullets, have no place in civil society, and I think that we can take steps to restrict those as well. This is a much heavier lift at the federal level than it is at the state level. We clearly have an enormously powerful gun lobby in Washington that is so far been successful in allowing the Senate to get the votes to pass the assault weapons ban, but some of these other pieces may be able to be passed at the federal level. And I know we'll take a lot of questions, or a bunch of questions on this topic today, so we'll get deeper into this. But I think where I always like to sort of start and end this conversation on guns is that we all start from the same place. We all start from the same place. Whether you think that the solution is to take guns off the streets, or whether you think the solution is to make sure that every good guy has a gun to stop a bad guy with the gun, we all are sitting here today because we never ever want to see what happened in Newtown happen again. And we come at it from different places, and yet our goal in the end, I know is the same. And so that's why I hope that we'll talk about a lot of things today, but when we talk about guns, which is a passionate subject these days, that we can keep the conversation as dispassionate and civil as possible, because we know that ultimately we want to get to the same place. Thank you very, very much for having me today. This is the first of many, many of these that we'll do here and around the state, and I really appreciate your hospitality this afternoon. Thank you.
My name is Bill Wenzel. I'm from Southport, Connecticut. And first, I don't have a long preamble, but I do want to say, I think everyone appreciates your coming here today. Because even if everyone doesn't agree on the issues, we appreciate speaking to you and the chance to question. So, if you're ready for a short question, yeah. I've got one.
All right.
If you support banning assault rifles and high-capacity magazines, however those are ultimately defined, how do you propose to handle these rifles and magazines that are currently and lawfully owned?
I think that at the federal level, we're only talking about banning the future sales of these weapons and this ammunition. And I know that there are people who would like to go farther and take the existing high-capacity magazines off the streets or the assault weapons, or at the very least register them. I don't think we're proposing to do that. I think we're merely proposing, and listen, people say, "Then why are you doing it?" Because there's millions of rounds of ammunition out there, and there are tens of thousands of these weapons. Well, I'll admit that by banning future sales, you don't solve the problem, but you put an appreciable dent in it. There'll be those that I know here that'll disagree with this data, but it's data. From the 10 years from when the assault weapons ban first went into effect to when it expired, there was a 2/3 reduction in the number of crimes that were committed with assault weapons. And there were still thousands of assault weapons on the streets because that law also didn't take guns. But I think that it will not solve the problem, but it'll do something.
You answered the question, thank you.
Thank you.